Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Believe in Bills. I am Justice General. That is the coach, legend in two games. Mookie Hawkins in the building, as always. We got a great show for you guys. How you doing today, coach? What's going on, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. You know, the post day ensemble, if you will. But hey, it is a deadline at 4 p.m. and hey, some things has been happening as we speak. So let's dive right into it, man.
Yeah, some things have been happening already early here in the day. We've seen few people get cut, and we've also seen someone of significance get traded. Now significance being value-wise at the very least. He was a second-round pick for us a few years ago, and he was traded to the New York Giants, and that's of course Boogie Basham. We talked about this on previous shows where we felt like we wanted to see a little bit more from Boogie, and he had a great opportunity in this preseason, and he actually excelled. He played extremely well. You know, from the way I saw it at least. And the Giants agreed clearly, and they took a shot to go get him. I was hearing some late round swats. So we'll get the exact details later, but as of right now, Boogie Basham is a New York Giant. What's your thoughts on that, Coach?
I mean, I knew it. Something was going to happen. At the beginning of training camp, whether they're going to be either AJ Espinoza or Boogie Basham. Those are really been two of the guys that the Bills wanted to see who's going to rise to the occasion and develop where they could be more helpful to what the Bills are trying to do this season. And Boogie Basham definitely stepped up. He definitely showed his draft status potential, and something like that was good for him because it shed light on his trade availability and his asset to be tradable. AJ Espinoza, I just thought had a better camp than Boogie. He's more consistent, coming off of what he was able to produce last season, and to see what he has built from coming off that 6.5 sack season last year to what he's been doing thus far. Definitely, you had to keep Epineza. That's without a doubt. You had to keep Epineza. You saw what he did in the Chicago game. You know what I mean? So he's definitely showing you the consistency. Not to say that Boogie wasn't consistent. It's just that AJ Espinosa flashed earlier than Boogie, and he's been consistent from that point on. And Boogie, he's definitely had an excellent camp, and it was a good decision by the Bills to make that move. Now, what do you do with Espinosa? He only has 1 year. He's in his contract year right now, so maybe the Bills need to throw a few dollars at him, keep him at bay for the next couple of years, before his stock goes skyrocket because he's going to have a breakout season, and that definitely answers some things at the edge rusher spot. A lot of people talking about Shaq Lawson is not going to make this team. I keep telling y'all, Shaq Lawson was a starter, for this Bills defense in the later half of the season when Vaughn went down. So, Shaq is definitely a quality depth piece. So let's just try right in the defensive line just because we already have something. That's broke in that area. So just from a defensive end standpoint, okay, we know that Vaughn's on here. We know that Floyd's on here. We know that Russo Espinosa is on here. We know that Shaq Lawson is on here. So what is that? That's five edge rushers.
Uh, Epinesa, Vaughn, Floyd, Shaq
Shaq.
Lawson, and is there another one? Ashton would have been that other one. So I think that's four.
No, 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 no. You have Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Greg Rousseau,
Greg
Epineza,
Rousseau.
and
That's
Shaq
the fifth one.
Lawson. So that's five.
Yep.
So that's five defense. Hey, I would have been cool if the Bills went six, but this explains, this definitely explains. So now moving on to the interiors. Now that we have only five edge rushers, what are we doing on the inside? How many guys do you think the Bills should keep on the interiors, Justice? Who makes this roster?
So you got your Ed Oliver, Tim Settle, Puna Ford, Daquan Jones, and Jordan Phillips. I feel like those five guys are almost locks. Um, so I mean, you from that standpoint, just thinking about it that way, I can see us keeping 10, maybe possibly 11. But the thing with the Bills is they have so much depth at other places like wide receiver position,
Hmm.
cornerback position, safety. Like you're not going to be able to keep the extra guy at all those positions. So it's kind of like where will they make the sacrifice?
Right. And this definitely helps in other areas of position groups because now you figure the Bills will probably at least carry at least 11 defensive linemen combined with D tackles and defensive ends. Right now we have them at 10, five apiece. So linebackers, how many linebackers make this roster, Justice?
Linebackers is where it gets a little tricky. I saw that Kirksey was released yesterday, and I think that's somebody who, Brandon Beane is going to go out and try to
Mhm.
get. So it's tough for me to say linebackers right now
Just say
because
just for
I think,
making this Bills roster, just for making this Bills roster. Your roster may not be 53 because of those reasons alone, and we know that the Bills are looking to see what players from other teams get released too, and maybe fit the mold that way. We know the Bills are definitely looking from that angle as well. But just give you an idea general of how many linebackers in your eyes just makes that 53.
yeah, so I'm looking at, your Williams and Dotson, Klein, Milano, Bernard, Spec, Balen Spector.
Respecter got hurt, so I'm thinking he's going to
Is he on
carry a
IR?
IR or a
Okay.
PUP situation. So you have Bernard, you have Dorian Williams, you have Milano, you have T. Dot Matakevich. I think Matakevich is hurt, or he may be released.
And then also
It all
Klein.
depends on where they're looking at that yeah, and AJ Klein. Like those two to me are on a bubble. AJ and Metcalf to me are two guys that's on the bubble. In reference to that, because if you do bring in, like, say, a Kirksey or a Rashawn Evans, one of those guys are gone.
For sure.
So
For sure.
that's where I say that. So solidly, the Bills have Milano, T. Dot, Dorian Williams, T. Bernard, those four guys right now. I say four guys. I will go out and say dark horse Traven Howard, but let's just keep the Bills linebacker.
Uh,
Let's keep the linebacker group at four. Just in case, just to bring another guy in, say, in that area, because we know that's still a hole regardless. DBs, this is where it gets a little funky and interesting. I've been getting phone calls about Kyrie Elam, talking about he's getting released. Listen, Kyrie Elam won't be released at all. All right. He will be traded, if anything, but Kyrie Elam isn't going anywhere. He's fits the mode of what the Bills are trying to do during the long run of this season. We know predominantly that Kyer Elam is a press man corner. So do believe that there's going to be some situations in the game where Sean McDermott goes to a more, press situation with a corner of that suit, and that would definitely be Kyer Elam. We all know that the Bills do predominantly play more zone than man coverage, and that's something that Kyer is going to work on and get better at. But I think it's a good luxury for the Bills to have, especially at that position, because it's a passing league, right? So you have four quality cornerbacks that that can go out there and get the job done. Trey White, Christian Benford, Kyer Elam, Dane Jackson for sure. You got Terran Johnson, that's five. I'm going to say Cam Lewis is six. Cam Lewis makes the roster, so the Bills go with 6 DBs.
We know
And
Dean Marlowe just got cut.
D Marlowe just got cut, right? So that's definitely no, and we all know that Cam Lewis can play safety as well. My guess is that the D Marlowe cuts solidifies Saran Neal at the safety spot. You got Saran Neal, Tyler Rapp, obviously Poyer and Hyde, and Damar Hamlin. So that's 5. So right now, the Bills on the defensive side, that's 10, 11, 21. That's 25 players. Pretty interesting. That's 25
All
players
right.
right now on the defensive side. So that's not
Breaking news per Joe Buscaglia. Sorry, I don't know how to say your last
Joe
name.
B. Joe B.
Joe B. Yep. Just a rookie wide receiver Justin Shorter out of Florida has made the Bills 53-man roster per sources.
For sure. We already know that. He's second. He's right behind Gabe Davis on the depth chart. I already knew that Schroeder was making the team. That's what I about. So that's letting you know. I mean, look, let's be realistic here. The Bills are going with guys that they trust, that they draft, that they know they can develop. So it don't make sense for we know Justin Shorter's making this team. So now the big question is, do the Bills carry 7, wide receivers, and who would that 7th guy be? Will it be Isabella because of his special teams play as well? He brings a little bit more. We already know that 5th, 6th, 7th guy is definitely playing special teams from a wide receiver aspect. So if they do decide to keep 7 receivers, it to me, I mean, hey, you got 4 guys really to choose from. Keyshawn Johnson, Marcel Aitman, and Isabella are definitely 3 that is vying for that wide receiver 7 spot. If it's a spot, so do you think is the Bills will hold 7, Justice? Can't hear you, Justice.
My apologies. I do. I feel like Andy Isabella is going to make the roster. I don't think he's the guy that you can hide him on the practice squad. I think somebody's going to go get him. And I think he does bring a certain shiftiness and
Hmm.
speed to the offense. And that's something that they clearly are emphasizing in this offseason when you look at getting guys like Hardy and Sherfield. Now, you could make the argument that he might be redundant, to them, but I think that he has, I think he has something to offer. Um, and I think that he's worth, sacrificing that roster spot to keep him on there.
Mm. Right, right. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Bills are gonna go. Basically, I'm gonna stick with 6. I'm gonna be true to my guns right here and be 6. Now, if it is the 7th, my guess is that it definitely will be Isabella, and then Keyshawn Johnson, Shavers, and Aitman will definitely one of those guys. Probably 2 or 3 of those guys will hold roster spots on the practice squad. So I'm gonna stick with 6. Justice is gonna go with 7 with that. Running backs, I'm quite sure we all agree that all the running backs are making this roster as far as like Cook, Harris, Murray, and Gilliam. We know those are the 4. Mims or Johnson may make practice squad. Do you agree with that, Justice?
Yeah, and we saw that D Evans was released earlier today. I feel like that pretty much solidifies the running back room.
Yeah, that solidifies that with Mims. So we got 2 quarterbacks, obviously Allen and Allen, 4 running backs. Um, you know, um, 4 running backs. We know who those guys are. Tight ends. I'm gonna say 3 tight ends. Obviously, Kincaid, Knox, and my guy Q, Big Q. The biggest thing is linemen. How many linemen will this Bills team carry? Now, let's keep in mind you got 3 special teams guys, a long snapper, punter, and kicker. We all know who those guys are too. So right now you're dealing with 28 players. 28 players. How many do we have left to make this 53? 27. 27 more players to make this roster, right? To make this, no, 25, excuse me. 25 players. So we have 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs. I say 6 receivers. You say 7. We say 3 tight ends. We all agree on that. Linemen. who makes the roster? Let's say we know Questenberry is gone, right? So your starters, Deion Dawkins, McGovern, Mitch Morris, Osiris Torrance, congratulations. Spencer Brown. We know Ryan Bates right now is a backup center. We know he makes this squad. So that's your six guys for sure on this line. Who else makes this squad, Justice?
Well, you look at guys like Questenberry getting released. Um, I feel like we're going to need more depth at tackle, especially with Spencer Brown not looking amazing there. But again, you have Ryan Bates, who is a Swiss Army knife, and he can cover a lot of bases there as far as a backup plan to really any position along the five positions on the line.
Mhm.
And I feel like he kind of gives you a little bit of insurance where you don't necessarily have to keep another guy that maybe you wanted to keep, like positionally based, right? So like if you wanted to keep an extra tackle or an extra guard per se, I feel like he kind of helps that where he can play a few of those positions. So I'm gonna say I feel like we'll probably keep. I'll go with like nine. I think it's gonna be around that.
Right. I'm going to say 10 because I took six receivers, you took seven. So your numbers
Okay.
add up. So I'm
Okay.
going to say 10 linemen. With Questenberry being released, that is leading to believe that my guy Richard Garage has a great shot on making this roster. All right. I said this weeks ago that Richard Garage, may make this roster. He's been looking pretty good, given his opportunities being out there. And maybe that Questenberry release is evident of that because if with Questenberry, only backup right now you have is Ryan Van Denmark. He's the only tackle that's on the roster other than your two starters. So it's looking like right now my guy Richard Garage may be your surprise guy who makes this roster due to that fact. Just stay tuned on that. But right now, it's looking like Richard Garage is making this roster, and the Bills are going to hold 10 linemen just because of the injuries that they have experienced. And we all know that hey, that always happens up front. So the more linemen, the merrier for Josh. I think the Bills go with 10 linemen, three tight ends, six wide receivers, four running backs, two quarterbacks, five defensive ends, five defensive tackles, four linebackers, six corners, and five safeties with three special teams guys. That's my makeup of this 53-man roster. And, really no true surprises other than our guy, Richard Garage, making this roster and Anthony Isabella being that seventh guy in that receiver group. So this pretty much shapes out our projected 53-man roster. Everything will be official at 4 p.m. And I'm quite sure just tune in everywhere on social media. You're going to see hashtag Bills, with everything as far as who's being released leading up to that point. So, Justice, you got any final words?
No, I look forward to seeing what these guys do, who does make the roster, and who's ready to contribute. But other than that, yeah, man, I'm just excited for the regular season.
Absolutely, and then obviously we know it's going to be a handful of guys that's going to come back on this practice squad. So I'm waiting to see what's the outcome throughout the league, and what other names that's going to be released that may have some interest
Yeah.
for the Bills. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for. So hey, dog will hunt, right? Enjoy the rest of this 53-man roster day.
Have a good one, guys.
Do you believe?
Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.